Hi again. First off, I'd like to give my condolences to anyone that's affected by the COVID-19 virus. I guess in a way, we all are, because most are in self-quarantine in some way or other. If there's ever a time we need God and His angels' help, it is now. Perhaps that's why they have waited this long to communicate with us, for there's never been anything like this in the history of mankind, as far as we know. The most terrifying thing is we really do not know the truth of it all either. However, the angels have said many times that they have come to give us the truth. Right now, humanity is under the cloud of a monetarism society where all things depend on and are run by the elite 1% that control 40% of the world's wealth. Their only goal is to profit, and that comes without respect for human suffering or loss of life in most cases. If one can be content in accepting and flourishing in a society that runs on the current economic globalization conditions, then we can see how humanity's compassion is rapidly dwindling. When we begin to accept things like 25,000 starving children who die every day, and the corruption that comes with politics, religion, the health system, and education, we become unknowing participants. So if you believe that what we are doing here does not conform to the boundaries of normality, then I thank God. For if we do accept the current normal, then we may be going against everything that is good when it comes to humanity's spiritual evolution. Today I have 3 quantum reversals for you from Maylor. One of them is a few days after he arrived, and I recorded him on an old VHS camcorder I had. The quality is not that good, and the sound could be better, but for the most part, all 3 are quite remarkable. In this one, I left most of the old captions up and just revised the words for the new version. In the first one, called Mystical Wave Patterns, you'll be able to see how Maylor still looks a little weathered after he came to us, because he recently had a bad case of the mites, which affected the plumage around his eyes. The context of what he's talking about in this one helps to explain how he receives and relays the messages, my role, and he even mentions what the purpose of this event is. Then he mentions that once the world starts paying attention to this religion, we will be able to start saving more lives. So this one is called Mystical Wave Patterns, and it starts off with, I'm Maylor. That was actually the first time he introduced himself. Our river won't just stop. It runs for us and humans. Some try and ignore it. This project will give us purpose to move on. We have a vision that we want to illustrate to a group that has decided to report it. We found this process works within a form of mystical wave patterns. Ryan shall put up captions for them while Maylor relays it to him. Ryan will paraphrase these reversals. He is now ultimately working with God. We'll prove how the angels will define a use for heaven. And Ryan, the prophecies you'll see in this lesson will give you hope. When we have the world's attention, you'll learn how to save lives whenever these events rise up. So now let's listen to that. You may have noticed by the date on that original translation that Maylor made that video almost 10 years exactly before the coronavirus came. Yet I'm still working on getting people to pay attention to some of the things my budgies are talking about. In this next recording called Astute Maylor, he talks about a train that is arriving. He also says my full name with my last name first, which was kind of interesting. He uses this train as an analogy, and if you think about it, it explains how the angels know where we're going with it, even before the train is compiled. Then he talks about some other budgies who are waiting patiently for the right time to perhaps convince their guardians that they want to get involved in this religion once we reach the 70 lessons milestone. So this is what he says. Suddenly, something impossible is about to arrive, and it brings history. It's on a course in the name of Reynolds, Ryan. Astute Maylor's words are coming, and I'm part of this. Your forum must see more of my announcements, cross-connect on the internet. Don't forget, I worked a lot freely checking the train's progress, for first they've got to be impressed at what they look at. Its destination has first been placed before its engine. Don't forget to see how we prove it through world travel. As you evolve, you'll get a lift where we're going. No prophet in the world will know how to fuel the train like Ryan. He knows how to experience something you will have missed without heaven. These budgies that are waiting to surmount it are practicing and fearlessly shall plan a lecture for it. They'll attend and shall have memory of Ryan's translations for other people. Then we'll have answers here. The last one in this presentation, called The Heated Perch, is where Maylor starts talking about how technology can improve his arthritis that he has in his legs. He confirms he is at least 7 years old. He uses this example again as an analogy of how we humans can invent something good to help other forms of life and prevent suffering for them. He talks about how a perch is something that we all need in some way or another to support life, and talks about how these budgies are waiting silently to eventually speak. Then he mentions a song that I recently reversed and how they will help to confirm that these recordings are not faked. As some of you have already seen, I took 2 songs from the internet that were recorded in the 60s and 70s and reversed them, coming up with an incredible message in everything Joe Tex was saying and singing. This is what Maylor says in The Heated Perch. 7 are thinking about the things that are worth saying, so ask Maylor something. Someone's selling a perch that's warmer. They'll be rich, by the way. You'll like the river that is so huge, and when we pass it, you'll see what's inside the river and tell them what it was like. My legs are awakening with some tension, so this will help the pain. An electric perch for pain. Promise it will reverse a paralysis from poor circulation. A better look can acknowledge courage you may gain from us. With progress, you will learn from it. A perch really is important for a percentage of your life. If Maylor had human rights, then the world could openly promise to be fair. Someone can help a lot of budgies when one tries to revert to wellness for them and everyone. In the reverse part of this, he says, "You'll know soon, Ryan, how well you're doing." Several budgies have learned Ryan's prophecies now. They're waiting silently to speak. They're a witness to a religion Ryan captions for visionaries in science. They'll give us serious action when we approach 70. Some have been waiting for us to reach it. They want to get their movements done. It's smart they have reversed the songs we have sent to our religion. They will know that we're serious in heaven. The chances are really good that you have less people calling Ryan a fake. Just remember, every good word in this religion arrives as the train is ready. There'll be another one soon. It has the rails that are supporting a celebration. Before I end this presentation, I'd like to discuss the reason why Maylor brings up technology like this. I recently watched a movie called Heist, the movie, which I probably destroyed the name of, which made a lot of sense about things happening in the world today. I truly recommend it. In it, it talks about how the U.S. spends trillions of dollars on war-related products and fighting terrorism, and if they took all that money and put it towards providing homes and food for everyone in the world and curing diseases, they could eliminate the homeless and hunger in the world today. So the big question is, why don't they do that? All they have to do is make the money, which is more or less fake anyways. I mean, it's really only a bunch of numbers in a supercomputer that is controlled by the world banks and relies on debt, which makes us a slave to the banks. The movie also talks about how we have the technology now and that we have evolved to a point in human evolution where we could do this, and gives numerous examples of how it can be done. What I found interesting was how these companies justify it by saying things like, humanity would not have any incentive to work if everything was given to them. Do you really think that is true? We all need a purpose in life. And if we're not living in a world that controls us like slaves through debt, most would find their way to make amazing contributions to the world in other ways, even in advancing technologies. Are we headed in a direction of the collapse of the world's economy? Perhaps, as it may never be the same after this pandemic is over. If we do make changes in the future because of it that will benefit humanity, then it is proof of how God can take something evil, like what is happening now, and reverse it to make something good out of it. It was not his plan for this to happen to humanity. However, only he and the angels can come up with a solution and a new plan that may turn humanity around and put them on the right path to spiritual evolution.
That completes this presentation. To hear more, please subscribe to our YouTube channel or visit our website at theangelscrolls.com.